start the discussion from there. About Africa, about Niger, about Burkina Faso, and all the other African countries, and then we'll take it from there. My producer here, Juma Wamaso, and let me just congratulate my Chief Executive Producer Godwin Kwekutete for the wonderful job done. So we'll straight up go all the way to Germany, and then we'll start the discussion predominantly on Niger and the other French-speaking African countries. It will not be easy for Africa, but this is the time we have to show the world that the African is capable of managing
Africa is rich and not poor.
Affairs. Me woni pa miensa ewo Zoom a.
Oh, I don't know.
Yane won ebedi nkomo ene anopay. One of them is Mr. Andrej Hanko. Mr. Andrej, if you can hear me, good morning and thanks for joining us.
Fellow Ghanaians.
All right. I think your line is a bit faint. I can hear you from here. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, please? Yes, I can hear you.
Very good.
Very good.
I hope you're fine.
I hope you're fine. I'm fine. Okay. Thank you.
Good. And then I have Mr. Johannes. Mr. Johannes, can you hear me?
Yes,
I can hear you.
Yes, good morning.
To you, sir.
To Africa, yes.
Yes.
Well.
Yes. Good morning and thanks for joining us this morning. And then I have Mr. Wolfgang. Mr. Wolf, good morning.
Hello, I hear you.
Okay,
Thank
okay.
you.
Fantastic. Let me quickly go to Mr. Andrej. What do you make of the current situation in the French-speaking African countries, sir?
Well, at the moment, after the overthrow of the government in Niger and the threat of a new military intervention by ECOWAS states, there is a lot of attendance here in Germany on the situation, what's going on there. I personally have been to Niger in April because there are as well not only French and US, but as well German soldiers. I'm a member of a parliament in Germany. And now people here, I think, they are thinking what is happening there, because people understand that Niger is very poor and at the same time is very rich. They are very rich concerning uran, concerning gold, but this is not in the used in the interest of the people in Niger. And I think the mood, the demonstrations in Niger, it is an anti-colonial movement, an anti-colonial atmosphere. And my friends, and I know a lot of people here in Germany, they have sympathy for this anti-colonial development, because Niger and other African states, they became independent, but still are exploited. And we have, I think we have to come to a situation where this exploitation has to stop. So that is what a lot of my friends are thinking here. and I think the sanctions and the threats.
Fortunately, we've lost. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Please
sir.
go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Raj?
Right.
Yes, please go ahead.
And we as well. There are, there are French troops in Niger, 1,500 French soldiers, 1,000 U.S. soldiers, and as well German soldiers. And I joined a demonstration here in Düsseldorf, one of the main cities in Germany, for the French, in front of the French embassy, to call France not to press for more confrontations, not to press for a military threat, and to call as well for our government. I'm from the opposition. I'm from the left-wing party. I'm from the opposition. We are calling. We say our soldiers should come home to Europe, and especially the French. And there's some kind of awakening of French Africa, because they don't want to be dependent on just one country, on France. They want to be more sovereign, and this is positive in my point of view. So that's my impression of the situation.
Quickly ask you this question. Let me ask you this. You are a German politician. You belong to the European United Left Parliamentary Group. As a politician in Europe, why did you decide to join the protest in Germany? Why? Why did you decide to join the protest?
I did not understand. Sorry.
I'm asking why you joined the protest, the demonstration in Germany.
There were people there. They don't want a new military conflict, because now it's a situation that there could be a new military conflict because of if there is a military intervention by ECOWAS, there would be a new war, and these people which organize the protest, they have sympathy, and they asked me, because I'm a member of a parliament, I'm a public figure, so they asked me to come there and to speak there, and I said yes, I'll do it, because I think it's wrong the way Europe, especially France, but as well Germany, the way how they are dealing with African states is wrong. And that's the reason why I went to the protest.
So much. Let me go to Johannes. Mr. Johannes, can you please hear me? Hello, Johannes, can you hear me? I'm sure we've lost Johannes, but let me still talk to Andrej. Andrej, if you look at the pact that the French-speaking African countries signed with France, one, they would have to actually send every money, every revenue generated from their country to the same money.
I cannot understand you. I didn't understand the question.
That in the form of a loan, and that is given to them based on commercial value. Do you think that it's about time that the African French-speaking countries stop keeping their monies with France?
It's for you, Johannes, or for me? Thank you.
Hello, Andrej. Unfortunately, I'm sure he can hear me. But Mr. Jonas, can you hear me? Johannes?
It seems to me that my response was not to be heard. Let me tell you some sentences. My point of view as a scientific worker at the university and as a peace researcher. You know, in the center of my interest is the European Union and France, French politics, and I totally agree with that what André Honke told you some minutes ago. You know, France and the West Europeans are fearing to lose their influence, their neo-colonialist influence in Africa. And if you imagine the loss of influence in the last 100 years. Imagine in 1918, France occupied 21 times the surface of its own country, and France is the biggest country in Europe. 21 times the surface of France was in the French thinking, part of France, and it was under the influence of France, 21 times. And there we had the whole so-called Black Africa, and we had lots of parts of the Northern Africas, the Maghreb situation. And one of the most important countries of this colonial influence of France was and is Niger. France has a big nuclear weapon, nuclear military power, and it has a big influence in the production of nuclear electricity. In France, about 65 to 70% of the electricity is produced by nuclear power stations. And for those nuclear power stations, France has needs and needed in the last decades uranium, and about a third, 30%, up to 40% of the uranium needed by France came from Niger. And that is why, at the moment, they fear to lose the influence to that big country, Niger, which is a neighbor of the bigger country of Nigeria. Me, as a peace researcher, I act as André Honko does against each and every military intervention, because military interventions have never in the history resolved a political problem. To resolve the political problem has to look for other ways. We have to enter in new relations between the northern countries as France and Germany and the European Union and the African states. We have to rebuild the exchanges, economical and political exchanges on a democratic way, on a democratic basis between African states and France and the European states. That is why, as a peace researcher, I'm against each and every military intervention and so-called military solutions. This is the end of my first statement. Thanks very much.
You are a peace expert and you're also a political scientist in Germany. Let me quickly find out from you. Do you think what is happening across the French-speaking African countries is going to end anytime soon? If yes, what would account for that? And if no, what do you think would also account for it?
You know, if the Western world you need to not to have a military intervention. One has to speak one with the other, and one has to find other ways of getting out of this crisis. Military intervention is the wrong way, and is the way which is going to a never-ending new wars in Africa. That is why I'm absolutely against this kind of politics. Perhaps I didn't understand your question well, but the connection is not very, very good between Germany and you. Did I understand the question well, Wolfgang?
I think so. I also didn't get it.
Okay.
Can you now? Or you still have a problem with the connection?
No, we hear you.
Let me move on to Mr. Wolfgang. Same question that I posed to Mr. Johannes. What is happening in Africa, especially the French-speaking African countries? From your experience, do you think it's going to end anytime soon, or is going to take a long time, the fight between French-speaking African countries and France?
Yeah, I see it in a wider perspective. These are not only the French-speaking countries. You know, in Africa, you have a big growth of population and poverty. And the young people, they are not satisfied anymore. They want also to live in human dignity. And today, with international communication and migration, they see the differences between the life we have here in the rich countries and their lives. So, and they are not satisfied. So many people even try to come to the rich part, and many die. And in fact, in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, after the Second World War, we had on the paper agreed, we work globally together, that everyone can live in human dignity. But we have not achieved it. The rich countries, in fact, they only care for themselves. And they exploit you. They don't care if people are hungry, if have no health care, all what they have here. And I can tell you, we will not be able to change it. You have to do it. You have to stand for your rights. You have to unite, and then we, the minority in the rich countries, which are against the injustice, we will support you.
Having some technical issues here, we can hear you clearly. Let's come back to you. 17 minutes after 7 on Onuya 95.1 FM and then Onuya TV. Discussion in there and will be on Niger and the other African French-speaking countries. Now, issue ni nyinano yedi nipa emiensa MP bako ewo Germany, Andrej Hunko. Why MP ewo Germany since 2014. Na sama oka nyinano se ohwe ehawa ewo Africa sisi ana. And the way France esi etete 21 African countries now. Why do you know what person tiase but don't tiase? Enunti ena omoka homo omo hye demonstration na Germany mountain so ono de ne ho gi mu se edumre sese France jai ebibiman am omo ho timi towo ba yen ankasa so ebibifo na yen ye wo Africa no momu no yen wo momu empese France be di yen so no yen ye bibifo no momu no pese France di yen so e watena se adwene ho ehunu se sabi asam na okan no di yatem I say it is becoming a nuisance for them to understand how the African think. Nyamenam kan on kan. So no yeah MP or Germany what na say you say yejibi. Wo mo kra ne pese France jaye. But yem pese France
Africa is rich.
Ebe jaye ebiom. Wo fi ono so a na afei wo mo sam no kan na me bo no tofa. And 10 times so that for the amaye. Johannes asama all kan me busa no same question na. Medema Mr. Wolfgang. Na sama all can say entokwa we no ono ohwa enya ade ebe ende ne ebe ende ye china if you say France nye na dwen say o jai ne hum ama bi before titru won we ka French kasa e wa biblim ha no na de ono all can say ye de a soldier for every other African countries say one conquer fighting against Niger no and fakwem dansa bi anim ono na dream no o say the yen sa e de how bebre emom beba ebema Africa for a ka French kasa no waka bom se wo beko atia e de mogahwiegu ne niam bebre basabasa ebeba eye ebibre mu ha na eno no ena de otwato okra na oguso a okasa ahoma ne te kwa ene so pa kire se onua se wo hwe de we a atete ne kwa na ekoso a European Union any economies na wo sika bebre no se Germany ne France no France the biggest European country I don't know kan eti sika so almost sasani na no was Safi Africa eti France entiment na wan yan hwa ha se onua sika na was Safi Africa no emmo won ene se so African so ehunu se sika na ekodo emmoa won eti eye tumi mienu ena eko but onim se nya ade esese ye man tena ho da o se eko no ebeche but esese Africa tibi gina ne na so se on pene ne pene china onua o Germany o na yeso yete Ghana Africa
yes ya butterfly moto mu nwi
eti ye twen se ye betimi yenya omo back e wo zoom no so da fe yetimi onua akasa umpensu mame
onua machi o
say wo share almost all the French speaking African countries ni na no e honyo Ivory Coast say ya me no kase no French asoja for ena ewo Ivory Coast wo yeden French asoja for no Ivory Coast omo yeden ya say we na dan MTTD for Ivory Coast
we kurasi ni
onua
mountain
ye
road checks
onua
ena udru wa yesi bia boot na yenhwem sifi ukanim ma yen searchim say ade papa bi wo ho a Ivory Coast aban no eya
bibini au
ebeda na French soldier ni nya French post ni
Captain Smart
ebe free Ivory Coast French ni mem France ton
he is
smart
he is unique
abesi barrier
Captain Smart he is smart he is unique he is the best Captain Smart
omo na eba abesi barrier
onua machi o ye tie
and I think that
oja
ye drew baby e say ye yankasa bibifo no ye te ye ho ase
bibini au
say
bibini ye
ye nya ho e ko ama yen ba ye yankasa ye mpese e be ko ama yen ho
ye dwene mu wo
de etoso biom ne say ya me no kase no so be kai am bo kase say Ivory Coast asoja for ni aban na tenase na France atenase adwene ho ehunu say over $600 billion every year
onua
every Guinea-Bissau, Benin, Burkina Faso, Sierra Leone, Niger, Togo, Senegal, Guinea, Cote d'Ivoire,
onua machi o
Echo France no. So man you careful na sa sika no etotwa say emba France bioma France man ne bebo
Captain Smart
one former president
king of morning shows
Jacques Chirac can say be train say France anya careful na sika na efri Africa ba France no ejai say eba France on mine ne bebo
Africa is rich and not poor.
Ebebo It is a sanity there. France kakrakaya edahoyi.
Onia machi o.
Africa. Ena ehwe.
Africa is rich and not
Say wobeso kanea efri Niger. Say France benya ebro efri Africa. Say France betimi aye nuclear weapons enema wode yo no efri Africa.
Africa
it is France eye nhwahat na ho onua ekosi say countries na ewo Africa ha no ete wo ho pe onua oyonne kase
onia machi o
ene baba be sense won kum when him say trouble kase ba ko ewo ho sese ni say apart from say sika na omoje no tie me ye o da bia me ka to say yama Bible ne Quran abe prayen ewo Africa ni pampe so obeti ase bibini what was Ivory Coast president to say the Bible says. Can you imagine? Or say Bible na say Alasan Ouattara te Ivory Coast. Any Al Jazeera can say the Bible says that love your neighbor as yourself. So they can hate France. Nobody is asking Ivory Coast or any of the African countries to hate anybody. But if the Bible says that love your neighbor as yourself, the Bible did not teach us to love our neighbor and hate ourselves. So why are we giving all the natural resources here in Africa to Europe, and we are rather dying as a result of the dissipating of our natural resources? Why? I don't get it. When him says sikana taxes are omojiji to say Ghana ha eto na ejije no ebibrem ha manya omoka French kasa ni na no wojiji wo sikana kabua no woni tumi nsa wodo won saka France finance minister and be ka to say wajiji say ane afi etwam no na wode ka wentimi anjeje say etino sa na tie de a afi we 15% or hanchichem dunum asese de ma no ye mfa ma wo ye be ma won son if say afi etwam no wentimi anje sika no na ya tewa wo sika na wagege no say ye 100 cities to say we 100 boy okay me 100 cities in your example
eto de ye eto yi akwan
eto ye 100 cities we na Niger, Ivory Coast, Mali, Burkina Faso, wotimi jiji ya. Na France, finance minister tuwe shwe ni makacho say. Afie term no. Wentimi anjiji sika ni na ye. Ete wo this year. Ya why wu sika na esese de ma hanchiche mu dunum no. Say 100 cities ye be ma 15 no. Ya ma 15, ya ma 7 cities 50 pesos. Ya tia no ete sika na aka ni na no. Fabra France. That was the Sicano Eco France. Wow, Sicana, when you are to France, no. And Ran say, as I said, France finance minister to say Ghana ha Kenoforiata. Or no emphasis Sicano, say treasury below, say stock exchange, say Dayon, emphasis Sicano question. But wo Mali, wo Niger, wo Burkina Faso, Sicania Wodiano, who knew to me. Say ensihuana boko GH boko many abere pa ensihuana sisa sika ne ho no woni wo kwan so obusa eti wodi mimi sika kwaya investment emfaso sign aba ho a wosim mesimani enti embusa me number 2 mi sika wo ena me dia ma na kwa mi so mfanto wo ma me sa me kwa na kwa mi ho akwa Jimmy sika na emra ne se na kwa mi mfa mi sika ne mo me besia don sanjin si ho e wo mi sika na me dia ma no asam ni nyina ni bibini ye nipa o afa de to so mi enu kura no de atwa mi nsuru mu kura magene ho amente ase ene se obade japade ode amaye gold, diamond, bauxite, uranium, DND, natural resources are. A good year bad there, and the Amayani Nano. Amaya would wear Bibliamoha, what come French Casano. Woni wutumi sa wode won sabeka. Sebi yo. Woni wutumi sa wode won sa ebeka. Se nyame ye wadom na hu se wo fom agudie pepepa.
Onua.
Chen bebo France or minor money. Na wo mumum enkasa ye de company ebeba betu. Ade ye kasa ye mpe. Say ye tu so a woni hutumi. Say obeche baby ayentu no. Dodo ayentuo. De ye mfa nko. Eni de ye njama o. Ebo a ye de beto no. Wan kasa woni tumi a. Wo betimi ye determine wo price. Wo mo de saade na different speaking African countries ah. E maybe beto Ghana. Ye ne yedua koko. Ba anya ye ne determine koko bo.
Da bibini grab e de wiase.
Yay! Eti uranium a ewo Niger.
Onua.
Wafa wa ha baba. Ono be come details ama wiye. Me tete ani ama o.
Ojaye.
Woni to me say. Wan kasa betu akasa. France abetu uranium ewo Niger. O de koso kanea. Meanwhile, Niger timi da sumu. Eti Niger eje kanea free Nigeria. Na se ya ECOWAS nsam fun yi sorry ye. Alatafo se ye dum mu kanea. But uranium no. Uranium na wotu ewo Niger no. Eno na wode so kanea ewo France man nyina. Uranium na bi ena wo de ye tuo eno ana wo de ye wo aeroplanes akese. Meanwhile, yet Niger ne de ye ni hutumi se ye determine ne bo. Nti what was na France EPS kafia bi de abrɛw. O de sa sika ne brɛw so a o se sanso alone. Number 3. Yakura ne say French-speaking African countries in our educational system must be approved by France. It is our Babako school. Ewo, a biblem ha maya waka French kasa ni nyina. Ese ka edutum oye policy na. Wa chotro niam e pese ye wo school si na. No de akwa France. France hwemu wi a na waka kire wo se adewe nkwada no sua ombebe ndodo. Ekwada ni sua we wo mehu nyansa dodo enti yifrim kona akwada ni kosua se de ye draw abebe. I mean, why? What is wrong with us as Africans? This is what is happening between France and the French-speaking African countries. And I think that the earlier we dealt with it, the better for us. Let me go back to Zoom and speak to Mr. Wolfgang. Sir, if you can hear me, good morning and thanks for joining us.
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Nice.
A very quick question and then the others will follow. Tell me, what is happening now between France and the French-speaking African countries? What do you think we can do as Africans to liberate ourselves from France?
No, I think we have to see it wider. I think in the English-speaking countries, it's not much difference. The use is perspectivelessness. You also, Ghana is very rich in resources, but you also give it out. You export your resources. They build here, create jobs in Europe or in US. With your resources, and your people have no chance. This colonial order to bring the resources to the industrial countries and get their produced goods back, which does not create value development in your countries, is the same in all of your countries. And therefore, I think you have to unite as French and English former colonies and bring your interests in the middle. Bring your interest in the middle, what you want to achieve, that your people can live in dignity. You have to unite and create a political power. We have a big chance today because the West, as long as they monopolize the industry, the global South had no chance. but today you have China, you have Russia, so you can choose with whom you want to work. And in Africa, the youth today is much more enlightened by internet, by communication than before. So you really have a chance today to unite and you build a strong African unit. And naturally, the base is a unit in your countries. You know, you have in all your countries a small elite which is profiting from how they are integrated in the world market. And they don't want to change also. It's not only the rich countries. The elites in your country, they are profiting. The imperialistic system relies on the elites in the rich countries and in the poor countries. And they don't want that we as common people come together and organize the world for us, that we all can live in peace and dignity. And so we personally, we have to be active and bring the things forward, develop our own ideas, how the world and how our countries should develop, and social justice and social security for everyone, healthcare, education, drinking water. This must be in the middle. Look what is today. The rich countries spend billions and billions for weapons where other people have nothing to eat. Yeah, this is a horror. This is an aggression for me even on life, if people do like this. But here they profit from their arms producing, from their arms selling, from make intervention in other countries to get the resources. And so we need a unification against any military intervention, because this favorites the rich and military strong countries, and to unify from the bottom of the societies. And it is mainly in your country you have to do it, but internationally we can cooperate and support each other.
Now, if talking about cooperation among African countries, if you look at the terrain now carefully, or majority of the African countries are being aligned to these European countries or the West. Ghana, predominantly, we are aligned to the United Kingdom and America. Nigeria is also aligned to the United Kingdom and also America. Anytime Africa decides to unite, you see the West coming in to actually diffuse that unity. What else do you think Africa can do to actually call off the influence of the West and actually become united?
Yeah, first of all, yeah, Andre.
Okay. Thank you. May I answer this question? I think the international situation is changing. The international architecture is changing. Mm-hmm. In the past, Africa was totally dependent, African states were totally dependent of the West, of France, of Britain mainly, and other Western countries, of the US and Germany and so on. But we are at the moment in a development out of the unilateral world, where the US mainly could, and France could dictate everything in the world. They could go to war in Iraq, for example, or in Libya without any consequences. And now it is changing. Other powers are coming. China is coming. India is coming. Russia, and so the international architecture is changing. We are coming into a multipolar world, not a unipolar, but a multipolar world. And that is a background why more and more African states, they want to choose. They don't want to be dictated by, for example, by France, like in Niger. They have other possibilities. And I think what we are seeing in Western Africa and French Africa, in Niger, in Mali, in Burkina Faso, comes out of this changing international balance of forces. And I don't think that what happened now, for example, in Niger, in Mali, this was not possible 20 years ago. because they were too dependent. But now
right.
There's more. You understand, more space for sovereignty.
Now, but based on what you just told me, if you look at the big African countries like Nigeria, like Ghana, like Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, these big nations, actually the big Anglophone nations, instead of partnering with their brothers and sisters in the French-speaking African countries, they rather support the West by actually coming together saying they want to send the military to go to Niger, either to go to Burkina Faso, to fight the army there, to reinstate what they call democratically elected leaders. What do you make of that?
I don't know. You don't better the situation in your country, in Ghana or in Nigeria or Ivory Coast. But what I read, for example, in Nigeria, the president, he's a new president, Tinubu, he went to the parliament, to the Senate. And the Senate said, no, we are against military intervention. We are against the sanctions. So it seems that there is as well different views, opposition to this idea of ECOWAS and of Nigeria to make a military intervention. I don't know exactly what is in Ghana, but what I read, for example, in Nigeria is that they were not agreeing with the president. And but I don't know. You know better the situation there. It's mainly now the French-speaking countries, but I think the situation is in the English-speaking country is not so much different.
All right, let me go to Wolfgang. You've been a peace researcher for about 30 or more years, and you're always advocating for African countries liberating themselves from the West, and especially the Francophone African countries liberating themselves from France. Quickly, let me find out from you. Now we have French military, their presence can be seen or felt in Ivory Coast. Internationally, do you think that's right?
Yeah, first of all, even the threat to intervene is against international law.
Okay.
According to the UN Charter, only the Security Council can set violence can be used, no other one. Even the threat alone is a break of international law. This we must say. Yeah, the West does it. In the last years, how many countries did they attack and destroy? And they think they stay above the law. You know, like in colonial times, they make laws, but these are only for the others. They stay above, they do what they want. And we have no power above them who can control them. And I tell you, I think this in your whole area, in Nigeria, English-speaking country, you have a big war and violence. Mm-hmm. And the underlying conflict in all your area, the climate change destroys the living conditions of people. And this colonial order, what I said, or export of the resources, import of the produced goods, doesn't give any perspective for your young people. But they want to live in dignity, and there we have to change the international, this economic order, and this we can only do together. And you have to unite to be a force which is able to do it. You have many resources which they need, urgently need. With uranium, many other things, cacao and other things. Yeah, if you unite, you have pressure. You can develop pressure, and without this, there is no chance. So the common people have, I think, they lose now also the illusions. What the West always told them, we develop you and so on. This is all blah blah. Their only interest to enrich themselves. This is the interest of our elites. And they don't care. So you have to see, if you don't care for yourself, no one will care for you. And this is the main point. And you can't do it. You can't do it alone. You have to do it together. So the people have to learn to unite in this neoliberal system. They told us there is no society. Everyone has to fight for him or herself. But there we will achieve nothing. The big problems we can only uniting if we are united and organize laws and political movements, basic movements. Then we can achieve something. Against the rich, they have their money, they can pay the scientists, they can pay the medias. Okay, you are naturally extraordinary, but the main, you know how they corrupt everything in their system that to stay in power with their privileges. So we common people have to learn and unite us, and we have today better chances than ever before. Like you see with this now, with internet, the international languages we have worldwide. So this, if we don't use it, you know, we have to concentrate to develop, change the economy in a way that that climate change can be stopped. It is horribly affecting people worldwide, and to overcome the poverty, because the background of your instability in your countries is naturally the poverty and the perspectivelessness, no jobs, no social security. And this is always like it was in Germany when Hitler came to power. The background is if the dreams of the common people are destroyed, they look for alternatives. And many times extremists can use it to get strong and then to destroy the societies. So we have to unite that everyone in this world has his perspective and his chance. And this we can only achieve together.
Unity has been the biggest problem for us here in Africa. And as you rightly put it, if we can help ourselves, nobody will come from anywhere to actually help us. The biggest problem we have here is leadership. We may decide, the youth of the country, the poor, or any other person, we may decide to be united. But our leaders will go to ECOWAS meetings, ECOWAS heads of state, they'll go to African Union meetings. Before they return from such meetings, they've already signed several agreements with the West again. What can we do as Africans, especially those of us who are not in power, especially the youth of Africa? What can we do to put our leaders on their toes, to at least appreciate the fact that nobody can help us, but we are the only people who can do anything meaningful for ourselves?
Yeah, in a democracy, you know, citizens lead we have to lead ourselves. We have to be the leaders of our countries. Naturally, it is good if you have some charismatic persons, some who are honest, that we have to produce it. Like I saw in Kwame Nkrumah as one who was in Patrice Lumumba, yeah, then Thomas Sankara, naturally. But this, to organize such persons is not easy. But the main point is, we have to control every politicians, and there we all have to invest in our knowledge. We have to invest time, that we understand what's going on, and control or give limits to every politician. So don't believe that others liberate us. We have to do it ourselves. Yes. And if we don't do it, the risk is always there that their leaders, even maybe if they have good intentions, you know, they can't do it alone. They need others. And then we say in Germany, fat swims up. Then people come around you who only have selfish interests, but not the common interests. So we have to really to put time inside that every one of us understands. Alone, we can't solve the problems. We have to develop a community and come together, and then we have a chance.
What do you suggest, Wolfgang? What do you suggest that the ordinary African should do, especially those of us in the youth bracket? Are you suggesting that we should rise up against governments that do not have Africa at heart? Or what do you suggest we do?
Yeah, first of all, you need political education, which you have to organize yourselves to understand the situation, the inside situation, the problems, the outside relations. And then it depends. I must tell you, I had big hopes in Fix the Country in Ghana, I must say. I really saw, people come together and said, we want a country which is in order for our human lives. But it is not easy. I tell you, to organize a movement against something, it's much easier than to develop a movement which has own plans. Then it's much more discussion necessary, consents, agreements. This is everywhere in the world. It is difficult. And so I think there's no other chance than from the grassroots to unite and then to influence what you try to do, I think, to influence the political discussions, the public discourse, even from there to in the political parties, and actually to cooperate with those in the political parties who have human dignity and the common interest at first, and not their private interests. These people are there. We have to find them, the same as with the medias. We have to build a block for a transformation.
Now, but finally, my final question to you. The media in Africa, majority of these media houses are being set up by these same politicians that we are trying to fight. How can we use the media?
And first of all, this is the same everywhere in this world. Yeah, in US, very few people, big companies have the medias in their hands. In Germany, the same. We have a horrible mainstream. So everywhere you have to unite and find your way. And what you are doing here with your small channels, yeah, or with your getting influence, this is the way we have to go. It's a long way. But it is the only way. If you develop independent channels, see that common people finance it, and they spread it and give to others. This is hard, long work, but we have to do it. We need a long breeze. But we can't give up. I tell you, especially you in Africa, but even worldwide, yeah, with the climate change, with the social problems. Yeah, I mean, ich hole sofort. With the television, yeah, we common people have to go this long way and support each other, learn from each other, exchange our information.
All right, let me go to Andrej. Finally, to Andrej. Andrej, can you hear me this morning?
What am I? I think he's out.
Oh, Andrej is out. If Andrej is out, let me pose this final question to you. We have all these natural resources. You, as a German, tell me, why do you think we are still poor?
Yeah, with the natural resources, actually, what Kwame Nkrumah also tried, to develop your own industries, your own power stations.
Yes.
And you have also to understand what you are doing. You know, you give them money that jobs are produced in other countries because you buy them where the phones are produced and every other thing. China, you know, they were in the same position, but they made special laws that they got knowledge from them. From those who wanted to export their things. They got knowledge, and they said, we want to be part of the enterprise, and so step by step they learned. Naturally, the big chance of China is they have a very big market and a big population. So in Africa, you might be only strong enough if you unite in West Africa with other African countries to develop a common market. And this, I think, is very important. And then you have to give borders. You know, if you leave all their goods in without customs, you have never a chance to compete with them. So you need customs for the exports. And this is in this way you have to learn. You know, like agriculture. Europe destroyed a part of your agriculture because they give subventions to farmers. And they sell to Ghana and other countries below the costs. And your farmers, it destroys your farmers. So you need a politics that your people are first, and not maybe even those who also in Ghana benefits and make profit out of imports.
Let me say a very big thank you for your time this morning, Mr. Wolfgang.
Okay, thank you. Thank you that we could take part. I hope we stay in contact and organize more, because I think this transformation process will be a longer process. I think we have a lot of unrest, and don't believe that the rich countries easily give up. They have so many capacity to divide you. And so we have to learn and see how we can overcome it. We will support you. If you stand for human rights, for dignity, for the equal position of African countries to the other countries.
Once again, let me say a very big thank you to you, Mr. Wolfgang, for your time this morning. Danke.
Danke. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day too, sir. Wolfgang, a peace researcher and Waye Juma for 30 years, African, German, black groups and exploitation. And I face so a bano, before ne abrofu meshiamu entotoya, woko Germany or no any penia or danwa or share etu a German abino efu. Ewo kwanya German abine betimi ejina ho na ama ebibrin so etimi akọ na name or no. And I'll say ono na kasa etwa to no Johannes M. Becker ono a German political scientist was also a peace researcher and a former managing director of the Center for Conflict and Research at the Philipps University of Marburg. Na ono France not here and na ono ye bon komo also on tia said da na mama se ECOWAS soldier for no eyo wadwin se ombeko Nigeria ono de so ban anopay say say all the French speaking African countries military na no one can boom no one fight ECOWAS ono na some kind no or say on tia say France ye rich na Africa ye poor na France sika woni nyina no efi Africa Andrej Hanko ono de oye MP ewo Germany a European United Left Parliamentary Group na ewo hono ono na ye wo chairman ono aso na ye wo representative ewo European Union Parliament ho ono so na sama okay na say it is time for Africa now and now. Also now no can be 6 times. Now and now to rise and fight the West. Na adia dia no yenje ono ne tu abibire mu youth ne for say ansana West ne ba be West no youth ne authority leaders na won and it's about time say ono de one can say yemfa violence or say dialogue. Yenye media engagement in there, but the drew baby and penny for the tiasia, we should be a bit harsh. Sano no so ekae. Enti one me and Sanya no mo bon komo. Wa for our ha ono de ban sansam semia wabia manache wabia ahye. Ye dane ye ho 2 minutes na fe wo fa tena se. They are bon komo. We'll be right back.